Hello everyone, how's everyone doing today? This is Hiro, Ajibale Kemcho, Aj So today I'm going to be discussing Mercury's transit in the sign of Pisces. Okay, now this transit lasts 2 weeks, okay? Around March 16th to around March 31st, okay? You have to see exactly the dates depending on like where you are in the world, exactly what time it starts and ends, but it's going to be around these dates, okay? Now, one thing you might notice is that this only happens for 2 weeks, right? So you might be thinking right off the bat, oh man, this is only 2 weeks, right? Great. It's only, in debilitation for 2 weeks. Well, not so fast, because when a planet moves through a sign quicker than it's supposed to, it tends to give more like impulsive results. Okay, this is how it works, especially for Mercury. Okay, now one thing to also notice is that Mercury is the only planet that gets exalted in its own sign. Okay, so therefore, when it gets debilitated, it's also getting debilitated in its opposite sign. Okay, and you can watch my video on opposite and debilitation signs for more info on this. This basically means that it's double bad, kind of. Okay, because debilitation sign for a planet is basically the spiritually direct worst placement for a planet. And the opposite sign, you can say it's like a materially worse placement directly for a planet. So if you add both of them up, it's like you just can't win, right? Now, Mercury is the only one that can ever find itself in this predicament. Why? Because it's the only planet that gets exalted in its own sign. So therefore, it's the only planet that's going to get debilitated in its opposite sign. Now, moving forward, some other things that impact this transit is Jupiter, who's placed in Pisces, and Jupiter also owns Pisces, so this should overall help here, which I'll describe more in detail in a second, and as well as Sun, who's here as well, okay? One other thing that you might have not have noticed, which I'm going to make clear, is that Mars is in Gemini, and it aspects with its fourth full aspect onto Virgo. Both of these are Mercury signs, so that will also impact this transit. So if you're running any dasha of Sun, Jupiter, Mercury, or Mars, okay, this transit will affect you, okay, more. Okay, it's not just, only if you're running Mercury, no, right? Because all these planets are getting influenced by this. Now, moving forward. So why does Mercury, just real quick, why does Mercury get debilitated in Pisces? And why is Pisces its opposite sign? I'll just kind of combine them real quick here. Because Mercury is Mercury represents your rational intelligence of the mind, okay? We have many different energies that could represent different parts of the mind. Like Moon represents your emotional part, okay? Jupiter kind of represents your consciousness, wisdom. Okay, it all depends on what you coin as the abstract term, the mind. But Mercury is the rational intelligence part of it, right? The one that's like very calculative and things like that. So it has its place, right? Now, Pisces is not very supportive of this, okay? Mercury likes Virgo kind of things, right? Where it's like very yes, no, right, wrong, like very strict, structured things, right? Pisces is a very loose, open energy, okay? It's very free floating, things like that. So when you put the rational intelligence specifically in Pisces, then what this will mean is that irrational intelligence is loose, kind of dreamy, all over the place. It's not able to operate in the strict calculative way that it would like to. So this is not good, right? And it moves through Pisces quick. So that looseness, that dreaminess, that imaginativeness, that unable to concentrate, all these kind of things are going to happen a lot stronger during these 2 weeks. So you need to be very, very cognizant of this, okay? So don't do anything crazy, don't make any crazy big decisions during this time, I would recommend, okay? Now, good news is that we have Jupiter here, okay? And this is Jupiter's own sign. And, okay, the thing about Mercury and Jupiter is this. So if you look, all of Mercury's signs, across from them are Jupiter's signs, right? Like across Gemini is Sagittarius, and across Virgo is Pisces, right? So both of these planets represent, wisdom at some level, okay? But Mercury's is more rational, while Jupiter's is more like spiritual consciousness intelligence, right? But they both complement one another, right? This is why, every planet always aspects 7 signs across, or 7 signs away from it, or the sign that's across from where that planet is, right? And this is why Jupiter's signs are across for Mercury's, because they go hand in hand, right? The rational intelligence and, that spiritual consciousness sort of intelligence, right? So you have Jupiter here, and you can use this for to help your Mercury, right? It's not going to completely cancel your Mercury, right? Because I know Jupiter, owns Pisces, but that's not how it works. But if you tap into it rightly, it could kind of help you navigate through it easier, okay? So what you need to understand is that, hey, look, your Jupiter is like, hey, our rational intelligence is gone. Let's lean on this spiritual wisdom intelligence a little bit more, okay? And however you decide to do it is up to you personally, okay? But just don't get ahead of yourself, ideally, in making, crazy big, calculated decisions, right? Like, yeah, I'll just leave it at that, okay? Don't try to calculate, don't try to outsmart anybody, anything like that, okay? You want to really, hang on to Jupiter's, energies here and tap into that as much as possible, okay? One other thing here is that Sun is here also, okay? Now, at the beginning of this transit, Mercury is actually combust the Sun, okay? Now, Sun comes into Pisces around the same time that Mercury does, right? And Mercury's kind of going to pull out in front of it and then kind of get closer and closer to Jupiter. So at the end of this transit, Jupiter's energies is going to be a little bit more important here to latch onto. However, at the beginning, the thing that we need to notice more is Sun's, influence on this, right? So the Sun, okay, we know that Mercury is the closest planet to the Sun, right? And why? Because the Sun kind of represents the ego, the identity, right? And the two closest things to it, which is why Mercury and Venus never get too far away from it, is Mercury and Venus, right? Mercury is the closest, right? Because it's the rational intelligence. The rational intelligence literally serves the ego, just like, enjoyment, which Venus represents, also serves the ego to an extent also, right? So what we need to realize is that at the beginning of this transit especially, and I can already kind of feel this coming because Mercury is combust Sun already, even though it's technically not in the sign. Mercury is debilitated and now it's combust, right? So it's already a little bit lost, loose, whatever, dreamy, not all the way there 100% able to function at, its highest octane level, okay? Imagine you have okay, I'll give two examples. Imagine you have like a really nice car and you put bad fuel in it, okay? Or imagine, you consider yourself, a pretty physically in shape person, but you just ate junk food that morning, okay? Like, yeah, Mercury, depending on how it is in your chart, it could be so good or so bad. But imagine now it's not able to function. I'm trying to just give you an examples of, how it's kind of being hampered, okay? Now, imagine you put the Sun in here, which is like your ego's like trying to manipulate it and use it in its own way, right? So it's like, imagine, okay, you're kind of somewhat active, okay, and you put junk food inside, so you're already not feeling good, and then now something like really bad happens, okay, like, I don't know, like you're dealing with some personal problem or something like that. Right now, it's gonna like frustrate you even more because like, you already have this, let's just say you ate some fast food or something, so you're already not feeling good internally, and then externally, you also have this other stimulus, right? So I just want you to get that point across, right? That, okay, so let's just say your Mercury, you already have, this inner, problem, and then you have this now outer problem, which is coming from the Sun, right? So basically what you want to do is you want to monitor that, okay, internally I'm a little bit lost, and externally I'm a little bit more propelled to try to make these, grandiose decisions for my own ego, right? But you need to just, recognize it for what it is and say, hey, let's not do anything crazy, okay? Any sort of anger or frustration or anything like that you might feel, let's just, accept them and let them go, okay? We don't need to act on anything. That's the main thing. We don't need to suppress anything, okay? And try to just, be at peace and all that, okay? Because that's just going to make the problem worse in the long run. But we need to acknowledge all the garbage here, right? Because your rational intelligence is turned off. So a lot of stuff can get stirred up. But we need to also acknowledge them, but we don't need to act on them, okay, especially at the beginning. And then at the end, we can use our Jupiterian energies more and more and, make some sort of internal decisions on how we're going to proceed going forward and what we could have possibly learned from this experience. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. And then real quick, and this video is a lot longer than I wanted it to be, but Mars, right? It's in Gemini and it's aspecting Virgo. Okay, so this means, okay, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but whenever Mars is in any one of Jupiter or Mercury's signs, it throws a fourth aspect on it throws a fourth aspect and a seventh aspect on Jupiter's or Mercury's signs also. Okay, so whenever Mars is in any one of those four, it's already in one of the four and it aspects two more. So it's really like, whoa, like your intelligence can get really clouded really easily, okay? What this means, you could get, and some of my answers so far has kind of been biased by this placement here, but this means is that you can get angry really, really quickly, okay? I can already have started to feel that ever since Mars went in Gemini, okay? You just want to say stuff, right? Just to prove people and things like that, right? So let's just go ahead and not do that, okay? We can acknowledge the anger. We can use that anger to break down certain expectations, certain identifications within us, okay? All that great stuff. Let's not actually say anything, most likely, okay? That is my take-home message for that last part, okay? Just make it simple because this video is already at 12 minutes, okay? So I think that's going to be it for this video. If you have any questions or comments, you can feel free to let me know as always. And until next time, I will talk to everybody later. Thank you guys all very much for watching.